I did my study on reduction of hitting with the introduction of the POD system, specifically with the introduction of modeling within the POD system. POD system is a communication system, augmentative communication system, the POD stands for Pragmatic Organizational Dynamic Display, and it works similar to a text system in the sense that there are icons and written words or phrases above each photo or icon that connect with categories. So if you go to one specific icon and it says I want, there'll be a number below it, and you go to that page within the book, 1A for example, and then there's options on that page. And if you run out of ideas, you go to another option. So it's very comprehensive. It allows for a lot of different communication across many different categories. So I introduced the system with Pearl, a 19-year-old with Lennox-Gastaut syndrome, and she poses significant delays across cognitive functioning, physical disability, and obviously communication skills. So the decision I made was to attempt to reduce her hitting behavior by introducing this POD system. Now, the POD system and learning and acquisition of this system takes a very long period of time. So within my study, the only thing I could possibly do was begin with the modeling phase, which is an immersion phase. And in the immersion phase, what happens is the book goes everywhere with Pearl and her therapists, and it's just modeled. There's no requirement of Pearl except for her to just be present, and the goal is for her to be immersed in it and become fluent in hearing the phrases, because those phrases don't change, and categories, and knowing which category goes to another, and hopefully learns to communicate herself with it. So in my baseline phase, we decided to define hitting as any open-handed forceful contact with another person's body. This doesn't include a tap when she's trying to get somebody's attention, or grabbing someone for support. And during the baseline phase, we just took data on frequency of that. So number of incidents, it was continuous across the 3-hour interval, and our measurement system just was frequency recording. So what we decided to do was count it over 5 days, and it had a nice steady increase actually, because initially she wasn't feeling so well, so it was a little lower than usual. And then once intervention was introduced, the POD system was presented. And during intervention, the POD was simply with her at all times. Any attempts at hitting were blocked or redirected, and an appropriate POD statement, or POD speak as we call it, was used as a replacement behavior for the hitting. Over time, we saw that there was a nice decrease, initially a little slower than we expected, and then it decreased down to very low frequency. I really feel that we did get significant results, considering that she wasn't actually using it. But what actually happened was, with the modeling of the POD, she determined that this was something that, was allowing her to be heard. This is our assumption. Because over time, she started to touch it, she started to look at it more, and just recently she actually went to the POD and started flipping through the pages independently, and she independently flipped to a page that had the toys on it, and at that time she had none of her toys with her. So that is a really big thing for us, and I think that she's made some very big strides in this study. So inter-observer agreement was taken across each session, and fidelity checks were done. Nothing was below 90%, so we did really well there. And generalization, again, we take it across communities, therapists, and our AAC specialist continues to work with us. She comes to our biweekly meetings, and we discuss improvements and problem solve and figure out what the next step is. But the phase that we're in right now is a very long phase. It's like learning a new language. So it's really important for us to continue this way and be patient. So here's my graph. Hopefully you can see it. lost my screen here. Okay, so as you can see, it increased, and then we had a nice steady decrease over time, which was kind of impressive, I must say. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to show you good before this video dies out. But that's it, and I would certainly recommend anybody taking a look at this system. It's a new one. I was a little bit doubtful and skeptical, but I really found that we found some really great results. And thank you.